Good morning. This will be my morning video today. And I wanted to broach a subject that it's not going to be super comfortable. Today is January the 6th, 2026. And this past couple of weeks has been a trial by fire. And the subject is boundaries and walls. You see, I've had several, what I would call colloquially run-ins with resistance and hateful, vicious attacks, verbally, particularly. And I, as a child, learned very quickly and early on that if I crossed certain parents, that it really hurt when they said mean things. Now, I didn't know about love languages back then, but after I got married, I figured out that my love languages included words of affirmation. And that meant that what people said to me mattered a lot, and how they said it. And hurtful words were not something that I could tolerate. They hurt me on a soul level. So, I had to learn how to filter out whether someone was just angry or whether they had been triggered and were reacting out of their trigger. And I had to learn to weigh that. Recently, in the past couple of years, I've had several people that I trusted and loved dearly, to whom I had never spoken a cross word or been vicious to, who, for some reason of their own, decided to go on the verbal attack. Now, if I speak and I am angry, that's pushed me a long ways, because if I am angry, usually I say nothing because I do not want to hurt other people. But when I get pushed until I do speak up, at that point, I have gone into what I call a cold rage. I have thought about what has happened. I have thought about the patterns. I have thought about what could have triggered the issue forward. I have thought about the other person and what their history is in their story and why they would be angry. And I have looked at the words that were used, and I have deciphered for myself whether it was jealousy or envy or a bad day, or is it true or is it a lie? Is it something that I need to examine within me? Was there actually something there that was a legitimate correction that I need to consider? I have processed all of that before I speak. Especially now, because I am integrated, I am an empath, and an integrated empath has the capacity to lose all emotional attachment to maintain peace, internal peace. So these attacks are a trigger because of words of affirmation. But I do not think of a trigger the same way that other people do. A trigger for me is a good thing. A trigger for me allows me to open up my own soul and see why, what is brought forward, what can I work on myself further in. So a trigger is a good thing. It's hurtful, it's painful, but it is part of how Father teaches me. So the experience this past little while of becoming very angry showed me something, and it showed me something very valuable, and that was that there is the pattern of I am in a relationship and I am thinking everything is wonderful and I am sharing who and what I am, and then that other person will get triggered by me, the Holy Spirit, Father, the situation, and I have a choice when that happens. I can look at all the details, as I just noted, look at my anger as if it was a part of me. I can take that anger and look at it, and I can decide what to do with it. I do not have a knee-jerk reaction. I can be absolutely enraged and push a pause button, stand back, and think about how I'm going to respond before I do. And I found that there was a very thin line between acting in rage and being destructive and using anger as fuel, as like rocket fuel into what Father has for me. And this last 2 weeks, I faced one of my greatest fears. And that fear was that I would say something that would irreparably damage a relationship. Now, this kicks back to being a kid and accidentally swearing in a clothing store with my brother. I had heard this word and I didn't know what it meant. And my brother and I were walking, my next younger brother and I were walking in the store, and there was something happened. And the word, this swear word, never swore in my life, this word fell out of my mouth. And my brother and I looked at each other and we just fell apart laughing because, Stephanie had just said this word, oh my. And my mom was close by, and, that was not okay in a religious family for you to drop an F-bomb in the middle of a store at, I don't know, maybe I was 10, 11, 13, somewhere in there. I was the early teens. But I found it absolutely hilarious because not only had I shocked myself, but I had shocked my brother, and he and I were good buddy pals, and we just busted out laughing. But it was not okay with my mom, of course. And that was for instance of I had a different point of view about it in the moment as a kid. It was funny. But ever after that one moment opened up something in me that said, how come other people get to tell me what to say or how to say something? If I have a feeling and it just pops out of me, why does someone else's point of view get to tell me that was wrong for me to think that was funny right then, right? And I have been writing music now for since August, since I got here and fully integrated. And I stayed away from anything that had swearing in it, even though I swear regularly in real life. for the fear of I might offend somebody. Well, what? You might offend someone. I have offended people. It feels like since the day I was born. I've offended people simply by walking into a room in a certain set of clothes or wearing the wrong color shoes to church. I have offended people by smoking a pipe in front of them and they thought it was marijuana when actually it was my grandfather's tobacco pipe, and I was smoking very expensive, beautiful tobacco and thinking of my grandpa flying his B-29. I have offended people by just being me hundreds of thousands of times. So just being me includes swearing. I married a sailor, for fuck's sake. I married a sailor. Swear like a sailor. Well, I don't know why I was so worried about that, but I have to say that the rage that was a trigger because of words of affirmation set loose in me the ability to examine my caring about whether I offended someone and examine whether offense was actually something I wanted to deal with anymore. No. Offending someone is a way of bringing forward their triggers and putting it in their face. So again, a trigger is a good thing. One sec. My daughter, we have a doctor's appointment this morning. Offending someone is a tool. Now, on the flip side, did you know that really intelligent people swear? And then it's been proven that swearing is actually a sign of intelligence, not a sign of being, trailer park trash or low society. It's actually part of being intelligent. And I would say that a higher level of intelligence even is to have that in your mind and be able to make it eloquent. To have that buffer between what I say and how I say it. Anyway, last night, yesterday, and the day before, and this past weekend, I bridged into writing explicit. And something happened in my mind when I let go of that fear of offending certain people who've been around me and heard me swear, but have not heard it made into poetry or lyrics. And when I let go of that fear, I unlocked within the library of Jen the files of all of my alters who are now gone because I'm integrated and I have the Bruce Almighty drawer to open up all their files. And it's like going through a personnel file and saying, oh, this is really cool. Let me write from the perspective of, right? It opened up the drawer for Charlie. And Charlie was my protector, persecutor, altar. She was one of the most venomous protectors. She was the one that fought the most emotionally with my husband when he first met her. And he went through several years of working very, very hard to have a relationship with her. He wanted a relationship with the whole car, the whole vehicle, the whole house. And she was very key to having relationship with all of the house of Jen. And Charlie was the musician. Charlie was the violinist. Charlie was the music teacher. Charlie was the one in black. She always wore black, head to toe. She always wore cat eye eyeliner. She was very, very easily recognizable. She was very intense, and she was very, very smart. And other pieces of the House of Jen would be numb and just very dissociated out. When Charlie came forward and was fronting, my brain would go on fire. I would have terrible headaches, what I called switching headaches, when she swapped back out. And sometimes before she came, there was this buffer zone of her coming in. But Charlie was the one that would stand up to anyone for protection of the house. And it didn't matter if it fit society or offended someone. It was about defending me from the world at large, and especially from people that had hurt me or victimized me or traumatized me or were in a habit of continuing to do that. She would step in. She was also the dancer. She was the belly dancer. So she was very, very powerful in the house. And she was very powerful and very much a stick of dynamite in public. And one characteristic of her was that she did not give a flying flip if her words offended someone. She had that military flavor of, I'm going to flip you off with my words. And when this fear of offending fell this week, it opened Charlie's box, Charlie's Pandora box of the strength and the power of offense, putting up a fence, of being strong within yourself and saying, no, you do not get to attack me verbally and have me roll over and play dead and be okay with being mistreated or a doormat to you or a dumping ground for your trauma. And as an empath, that has been a pattern. I seemed to just congregate people to me that had emotional dumps to give to me. And so when I opened that file in my mind, this banger of a song came with no holds barred, and there were two versions of it. The first version I put, it's on my YouTube. You can listen to it. The second version is not out yet, but what I realized was the power of saying no, the power of that fence of offense. No, no one can offend me, but I can certainly put up a fence and say, no, you don't get to offend me. I won't take that emotional dumping ground anymore. The healed empath in me says, my emotions will go stone cold and I will walk rather than surrender my peace that I have worked 50 years to achieve. I am worth that. I value me. I love me. And the rule of a caregiver is take care of yourself first. You must take care of you. You must know yourself before you can be of service to other people. So, the fence being up, the song being written, and several of them were written, and they were from Charlie's File. So they're going to say on them lyrics by Charlize Theron Black, which was Charlie's name. Charlize Theron Black. Her backstory and her understanding of her past would explain where she got that attitude. But that file box, when I opened up the file, did something to my mind. Every one of them is potent, and she was one of the most, if not the most potent altar and person within my car. And what it did when I opened that file was it let out the defender within me to defend myself and my family and my marriage. I would die for my family. I would stand in the way of a bullet for my husband. And there is no one that is allowed to threaten that relationship. And sometimes you have to pick up a sword and stand your ground and say no. And a lot of people are very afraid to actually be strong like that because there is a fear of what will I do if I let that part of me out. This is what soldiers deal with when they come back from war and PTSD. They say they have to face the fact that there is a monster inside of them that is them, that did XYZ in certain situations. A soldier coming back and being expected to be normal after having done what they have done is not realistic. Think about Joshua. Do you think Joshua was a normal dude after Canaan? There's no way that he was. So, it unlocked in me the ability and the fortitude within me that Charlie had held, which was to say no. No one gets to tell me what to believe. No one gets to tell me who and what I am except Father. And there is a line in the sand that I will draw and I will withdraw with no apology whatsoever. Because my peace came at a great cost. And I will take care of me because I love me and I am worthy to be loved. And I do not have to prove that I am worthy of relationship. I know that I am. And I know the power of my friendship, and I know what happens when people get to know me and I speak my truth. They may not agree. That's okay. We can agree to disagree. I do not have to prove that my friendship is of value because I know what value it holds. I do not need to prove my belief system or my point of view or explain why I believe in near-death experience, having had one, nor do I need to defend my understanding of past and future life experiences or any other piece of who and what I am. I have no reason to defend who and what I am because I know the value of myself. And I know that my Creator made me this way and loves me. And if I've got it wrong, I trust Him to help me find the right yellow brick road again, ignore the tornado, and go home again. And no one gets to divert that path, because the treasures along the way, the files I'm going to get to open in the library, the freedom that I am going to find, only Father knows every brick of that yellow brick road to get me from here to there. And I only have right now to decide what I'm going to do with right now with Him. So, this last couple of weeks has been very, very intense. Christmas and New Year's, lots of triggers there. Horrendous trauma over holidays. Unimaginable trauma through from October to February. Every year is the anniversary of many things, including 2 miscarriages, and a lot of abuses happened during the holidays. Hard times, trauma, PTSD that's in my body. So my body is processing now as an integrated system very, very differently than before. I am processing things on a cellular level and on a biology, fascia, body memory level that couldn't have happened before. That is profound. So I must focus on me, and I have to put up a fence. And I do not owe an apology for being myself. I have met only a couple of people, a couple of other women in my entire life who were like that put up a fence. One of them did it to me. I offended her, and she said, "You don't get to do that to me, even if you are DID. That's not, I won't permit that again from you." And that really rattled me, because DID at that point had been an excuse to be that way or offend people and get away with it. And she literally said, "You don't get to do that to me. You cannot use DID as an excuse," basically for being a bitch to me, right? And that profoundly affected me, that boundary. So I know the power of boundaries having been given them. They're very powerful. And they are what fence us in and hem us in on all sides. And I see it as a protection. I literally see it like an angelic hedge of protection. Boundaries are important, and boundaries exist with God. And yes, God does say, "Sheep or goat, you offend me, there's a fence. Don't go over the wall, come in by the narrow gate." He wouldn't have said that unless there was a hedge in the way, the fence, the wall. So this applies to Father too. He does not put up with everything. He does put up walls. It's all through Scripture. So, blessed are the peacekeepers. I shall keep my peace and be blessed to walk in the way of peace. And that fence and that wall is there for a reason. And it's for me to keep me at peace and at rest. Be still and know. So I'm going to keep doing that. And I hope you enjoy my new tracks from Charlie Black and her box of lyrics. All of last night, all night long, I could hear that file unlocking and unzipping, and all of the power and passion and fury of Charlie, who kept me safe and was a wall of fire around me against those that would come to try to hurt and devour and be wolves to me. She didn't put up with it. She wouldn't stand for it anymore because she knew that we as a house, a system, were more valuable than anyone could ever imagine, and that somebody had to stand up and say, no, you don't get to do that to me. I am precious and I am priceless before my Father. And if you don't recognize that, that's not my fault. But I'm going to walk away now, and I won't apologize. And I won't be sorry. I won't feel anything. I will just walk away and keep my peace. And if it gives me rage, that is fuel for the wall of fire. So that's my thoughts this morning, this beautiful Tuesday. It's Tuesday. Have a beautiful day this January the 6th, 2026, everyone. God bless. We'll talk later. Bye-bye.